Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr. You are watching Yankees Unloaded, which means you are watching a team that right now cannot win a game. So obviously, we're not going to be talking too much about today's game. We're not going to really break it down. There's not much to break down. There were home runs. That was exciting. Felt like the old school Yankees with 3 home runs in this game. Wells, Soto, and of course, Rice. But let's just be honest here. The Yankees are in a bad spot. And so instead of us, painstaking detail going to go through the play-by-play and be like, yeah, at this at bat, I thought you should have done something different. The reality is they just got swept by the Reds. Okay, the Reds are below 500. They're not a great baseball team. They needed this way more than the Yankees did. But still, the Yankees still needed this. They've lost now 14 of the last 19 games. This is a swept series, so not good. 6 straight series losses.
It looked like a spring training exhibition.
It's not great right now in Yankee land or the Bronx or whatever the hell you want to call it. And before we dive into the baseball aspect of this show, we want to talk about the human element of this show. And that is Gary and I are human beings, so we feel feelings. And we really appreciate you guys pushing this shit to the point where we are now monetized, okay? This is the first step to turning this into a full-time job. We are monetized, and we are over 1,000 subscribers. And you do not get monetized and over 1,000 subscribers without the help of you guys, okay? And furthermore, our watch time is crazy. So it's also another thing. We've seen people get to 1,000 subscribers and they can't get monetized because they don't have watch time. You guys will freaking watch an hour-long podcast. You'll watch like an average watch time of over 20 minutes. That's absolutely insane. For people that
these
don't
aren't our
understand.
cousins and our aunts subscribing. These are people who are diehard Yankees fans. That is true. We got a couple aunts and uncles in there, no doubt about it. But I will say this. When you talk about today's technology and just the land of TikTok, right? Everyone can't wait to be entertained in 15 seconds or less. And that's just the way of the world now. But Jake, when we started this channel, we said we wanted to talk about the Yankees, but we also want an audience that gives you an opportunity to explain your thoughts. Can be wrong. You explain how you were wrong or explain how you were right, but it's detailed. And it's a different type of fan than I think we saw out there in many other shows, is that it just seems like kind of broad entertainment, nothing really into detail, like nothing is deep. And these are deep conversations that we have. I mean, the fact that we talk about the Yankees every day. I mean, we've talked about Ben Rice going the other way well against lefties. Most other shows just aren't doing that, right? We're talking about them smiling and laughing and putting their socks up. Yeah, we don't give a shit about that. Personally, we're not going to name
Aaron Boone. He just looked like a man on a mission. Like,
that's not content. That is, we're not sure what it is. It is just garbage. And so the way we really appreciate you guys for giving us an opportunity to talk nerdy stuff, frankly, with 2 cool guys. And that's what we do. Yeah. And our last video just blew us out the water. We didn't expect. I knew we had like 920 subs. And we were chomping at the bit to get monetized because, I mean, who hates money, right?
Yeah.
And so we wake up the following morning. I mean, we gained like 100 subs. The following day, we're already monetized.
Crazy. So
thank you guys so much for watching all those ads. And yeah, I promise you guys we're getting into baseball on the show. But Jake, I thought that it almost seemed like they watched our show. Okay. It felt like they watched it because, and not saying they did, we'll never have proof of it, as you said before we hit record. But the timing of that was insane. We said Ben Rice should be hitting leadoff. And long behold, we get not just Ben Rice hitting leadoff, we get production out of Ben Rice. And I know he just went 1 for 5. Couple times he had hard contact. But in general, seeing his first homer be today of all days honestly, it felt so good for Yankees Unloaded. I know, Jake, that felt good for you to see. Then, of course, Austin Wells just taking liftoff. I mean, it is off what the back is, right?
Did you hear Michael K? Off the back wall.
Yeah.
He's trying to, stay in, his whole thing. And he's just like, that was, and I think we saw a little glimpse of the future, and obviously the present, but the future as well. we're going to look at both sides of this. There were good things to take away from this game. Whether you want to admit it or not, there were.
Hey, Doogie wasn't Dookie today.
No, Doogie was probably the best hitter today. I know he didn't go yard, but he went 3 for 4. So really like what we saw to him today. Juan Soto mashing that ball. Love that. That was a 2-run shot. Of course, go figure. No one else could get anything going. So Austin Wells and Ben Rice, unfortunately, those were solo shots. But, just to see those guys putting the ball in the seats like that was fun to watch. But yeah, this game really did suck. I mean, let's just be honest here. It wasn't great, and also it was kind of like the C team in the bullpen. Hill, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Jake Cousins. I love the stuff he has.
He's a project.
But yeah, he's a project. Caleb Ferguson was dominant, and yet I still don't want to see him out there. Hill is just not good. I'm just going to say that right now. I don't like Hill. And Stroman didn't have his best game. And you know what? I'm not going to just bash Stroman like people are, because Hill got multiple passes. And I love Hill, but Hill's like, oh, he's a young pitcher. He'll be fine. And then Rodon got multiple passes. Well, Stroman was part of that tandem, him and Cortez, that were holding this thing together and giving him a chance to win games. So I am not going to sit here and say now Stroman can't have a bad game after we just kind of, we didn't, but a lot of the fan base just kind of gave Rodon and Hill a free pass. And this is not me hating on those two, but I want to keep things fair. And I'll say this, I think Stroman is the most unfairly treated maybe player on this team.
Well, he's also very expressive. So I do think that in general, Jake, people want a scapegoat. And in general, when you are more outspoken, you're just kind of the first name people think about. But again, like Nestor Cortez and Stroman they were the steady guys, right? Like, let's not forget a week ago, Garrett Cole got shelled 2 starts in a row. Okay. Like,
so won we need 5 to remember games in the last 19. Okay.
Yeah. And when so they've been like Garrett Cole's coming back from injury. Like, we totally get the context of the situation, but those were the 2 steady guys. And I actually wanted to bring up something that happened during today's game that I thought was important, because there were a lot of people really upset on this play. And it was actually when Verdugo got hosed at the plate. Now, I actually tweeted, Jake, maybe 15 minutes before this about ever happened, right? And I was talking about Anthony Volpe. Now, a lot of people feel like Volpe's kind of swung his way and played his way out of the leadoff spot, to which I would agree. But I knew if you're going to slide down the lineup in the Yankees lineup, well, then you need to do somewhat of damage or do a job in general when guys are in scoring position. So I said before the inning started, Volpe's going to come up and he's going to have to execute if the Yankees are going to want to score. Long story short, Verdugo goes out, hits his second double of the game. Volpe comes up with a man on third base with less than 2 outs. Very clear what the job is, what the task is at hand. You need to put the ball into the outfield. And overall, Volpe and DJ LeMahieu are just peppering ground balls right now. They look like they're hitting fungos, like an assistant coach. Okay. He comes up in the situation.
I'll add on to that.
And he hits a dribbler ground ball. And here's the decision by third base coach Luis Rojas. He decides that we're going on contact. And I actually agree with it, Jake. And here's why. Now, he eventually gets hosed, of course, because he made weak contact. But we went on contact because we don't necessarily believe in the depth of our offense. We're essentially saying we're not going to score with 2 outs and a guy in scoring position. So if we get a ground ball, let's force them to make a play. And they made the play. Cincinnati is the worst defensive team in Major League Baseball. So when you have a player like Anthony Volpe struggling the way he is, you kind of know he's not going to get the job done in that situation. You've got to send Verdugo. They did, and Cincinnati unfortunately made us pay.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Watching LeMahieu, hop in there, and that the weakest line drive you'll ever see. I mean, he is so done. I can't even begin to describe how done he is. He is so over the hill. It's over. Like, in case anyone was wondering if he's just going to magically, it's July. It's July. He's done. I don't want to see him in the lineup anymore.
Yeah, because we don't love analytics on this show, but when you say analytically, if you
he's
see
hitting
the numbers from
ball,
DJ
pounding
LeMahieu
it into the ground.
But is it hard?
No.
Well, neither is Volpe's.
Yeah.
Okay, Anthony Volpe, and I want to discuss both of these players, right? Because we're talking about DJ and we're talking about Anthony Volpe. Last year, when Volpe was considering himself a power guy, right? He hit 20 homers, he stole 20 bases. So we thought, well, he's probably going to put more balls in play as his career goes on, but that power sure is nice, right? And then, of course, along with the glove, what's not to love? But what's so interesting, the exit velocity in 2023 and this year is dismal. Okay. DJ LeMahieu's exit velo is dismal. So we're not going to sit here and harp on all the analytics, but if a number specifically says you don't hit the ball hard consistently, you consistently hit the ball soft and the ball's on the ground, how am I supposed to sit here on Yankees Unloaded and tell you guys that the future's bright in that position? It's not. And I actually asked you, Jake, about the update on John Birdie because I was really curious when he was going to be coming back. And in my opinion, he cannot return soon enough. We are downright treacherous in the infield period, but specifically at third base.
We will be on cloud 9 when he's back. I'm not even, I'm not pulling punches here.
And he's 34.
I mean, yeah, he's 34. He's aging a little bit better, I would say. What I will say also, there's 100% going to be a move or two made. I mean, I just don't think, like, Cashman knows if he doesn't get this done, and we need to talk about this element of it. We keep acting like Juan Soto, there's no chance of him leaving, but that was when this was the best team in the league.
Right.
If the Yankees were to fall and just absolutely collapse and they lose in the first round of the ALDS or whatever, I mean, or the wild card even, I wouldn't be surprised if he left. There has to be a connection there. There has to be like a reason. Okay, we have unfinished business. There's no unfinished business if they lose in the first round of the wild card. Okay, because that's just okay. We weren't that good.
Yeah, because he ended up winning 89 games. You have to remember, we are only the Yankees if we're winning. Okay, so if the Yankees in the history of time never became a winning franchise, being a Yankee wouldn't be that special. It's the perpetual winning that you see that makes people so important. It's part of the reason why in the mid 2010s, like you're just like, oh, the San Francisco Giants, they are associated with winning. Being a San Francisco Giant, you can expect at some point, Bruce Bochy and all those guys, they're going to get you to the mountaintop. You're going to be a part of really big games over there. Yeah. Well, the New York Yankees, it's been a long time. Okay. And Juan Soto was supposed to be one of the pieces that gets us back to the World Series and potentially hoisting it. But I will say this New York Yankees team is, with a few injuries, no depth whatsoever, and it humanized this entire roster. I like the way our team looks when everyone's in their roles and everyone's healthy, but who are you when one or two guys go down? Who are you when Giancarlo Stanton gets hurt? Because let's remember, anyone in our comment section could have made the prediction Giancarlo wasn't going to be here for 162. What'd you think? Right? So we assumed he would be hurt at some point. So now that that's happening, you relied on the presence of Jason Dominguez, who is out with a UCL injury and rehab this whole offseason, to which, Jake, you mentioned you can't rely on somebody who's been out half the year. He's rehabbing. He's not playing baseball. So to rely on his presence to shore up the depth on this team is just downright blasphemous. Like you said, that later this month when we bring on all our guests, and we'll mention who those guests are, obviously in a few, we're going to need to hear quite a few names to fill out this roster because there are a lot of guys on the field right now, Jake. I'm not afraid to say it. They're not very good. Okay? We still have an overall pretty solid team, but pretty solid is not getting it done in the Bronx. Being pretty solid and being streaky here and there, because there's going to be a time where we win 6 games in a row and everyone's high flying again, but your infield's still not very good. So the New York Yankees and Brian Cashman specifically has to get to work because right now you got a lot of who the hell's that guy? Who's that guy? Entering the field of play. And when that happens, you can't expect to outrun Baltimore if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I did want to touch on the fact that I think when you look at the lineup and everything, like with like Glaber, we were talking about okay, it's 3 multi-hit games. He's had back-to-back 0-hit games, right? And I understand it's baseball, but they need that bat to work. I mean, at the very least for trade purposes. But they also need to win these games. And I just feel like when you're watching Austin Wells, it's hard contact, a hit, or he's unlucky, or he walks. And, when you're watching Ben Rice, he had 2 strikeouts today. The last one, he just froze. I'm not going to – the game was over. It was 8-4. There was nobody on base, whatever. He froze. He would be the first one to tell you that. He still hit the home run. He still put together some good at-bats. His 2 strikeouts are not the end of the world. I saw more from him than I've seen from Volpe in a while. I think really what we ought to be talking about here is who makes this, like, who deserves to be on this roster right now? Because like you were just saying, I mean, when you look right now, Ben Rice does, Soto, Judge. I think Verdugo, his defense is like the best in the league at that position.
He's clearly streaky. Aaron Boone before the game said it's just the ebbs and flows. So he's essentially saying, yeah, this is just a streak fest. And I agree.
And, Austin Wells, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Anthony Volpe, I mean, I think he deserves to be on this roster, Glaber, I mean, does he? I guess right now, but I mean, you could definitely upgrade. After that, Cabrera, no. LeMahieu, no. Grisham, no. And JD Davis, no. And that's the thing. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, this whole thing with like Jahmai Jones, right? It's like, well, why do we keep calling up? Why do you keep playing Jahmai Jones? We talked about him, right? He was the butt of a joke, whatever. So Jahmai Jones is somebody that doesn't really get, a lot of playing time, but right now he has an OPS just below 800, right? And I guess my thing here is that, I'm okay with Jahmai Jones playing from here on out. And just, until the trade deadline, he's better than any of the guys at the bottom of this lineup. And JD Davis just might not work out. And that's okay. I mean, they didn't give up the farm for him. So,
well, I mean, if JD Davis played, like once we have like 20 games in, I think JD Davis also, like this kind of reminds me of Birdie earlier in the season.
No, I agree.
Like, oh, I guess he's not going to hit for contact, but he'll eventually throw together a 2 or 3 hit day and then kind of regress. He'll kind of go back to his means, right? But my issue, I guess, is that Oswaldo, completely unplayable right now. Grisham is on the field because of injury, an injury that we expected to happen, and yet he's now in an everyday role.
And today was one of the worst defensive plays I've ever seen from a center fielder.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
So lackadaisical, and then he bobbled the ball.
Yeah, he's supposed to be a defensive replacement, and now he's in the situation where he plays a lot, and you can't expect a Yankees team to win consistently when a guy that you thought would be on the field every now and again to keep guys fresh, he's playing every day, and now you're expecting what? To win? Now there's just more pressure on the starting rotation, which, by the way, I'm ready for a conversation that maybe this starting rotation needs one more arm. Who knows? Because right now, the Yankees are reaching that threshold of the innings that I've talked about, which is roughly 125 innings. That's usually where a lot of the guys where you say he's got really good stuff, but why doesn't he get ace like contract? Why don't they give him that 7th or 8th year? Why is he only getting that 2 to 3 year deal his whole career? Well, part of that is the invisible ceiling that is that halfway mark of the season. Guys start to go down. Clark Schmidt, for example, a pitcher that you say, well, if he pitches this way all year, he's going to win 17 games. What reason would it be that he's not going to be a 2 or a 3 for this team? Well, injuries. And it happens to a lot of guys in this league. Maybe the Yankees need another one. So I just think right now, the bottom of this Yankees lineup, there's like 4 guys that just have no business anywhere near a baseball field with a pinstripe on it. And that just is what it is. And so Brian Cashman's going to get super aggressive. Who knows if he will? Because sometimes it seems like it defies logic. And by the way, Jake, for people who missed our show yesterday, you mentioned a few names that possibly could be called up from our farm system. Now, for me personally, I would be stoked to see a couple guys get called up. So where I know I'm going to get some type of, I guess, something to grow into leading up to the trade deadline. Because right now it feels like we're playing guys who have no ceiling. And frankly,
And
their
no
floor
future.
is the ocean's floor. No future, no present.
I mean,
And if
who of
you're
these
at the very
guys?
least, put someone young out there.
I agree. Who of these guys, like when you're watching Glaber, we've already established he's not going to be back, right? DJ LeMahieu gone,
Somewhat, yeah.
right? JD Davis, I mean, he's a 1-year thing, right?
He is a 1-year project. Yep.
I mean, what do you have to lose by calling up red hot 18 home run Augustin Ramirez just for his bat alone? What do you have to lose calling up your beat Vivas, who you traded for, who you're very high on, who came back from 2 injuries and is playing very well? What do you have to lose calling up TJ Rumfield, who's actually playing a really good first base this year, hitting 300? You know, I understand you have Ben Rice, but like, I'm not even talking about, oh, well, this guy, no. Just get the best bats and put them in the lineup at this point. Because
didn't we just say we have an open spot at DH? Aaron Judge isn't going to DH likely tomorrow. Aaron Judge probably is in center field. So that leaves DH where you can put one of your hot swinging bats in the minor leagues, put him in the lineup, give him an opportunity. Because you know what, Jake? If you don't see a long-term future with that young player that you just called up, if he plays well, you don't think another organization says, oh, look, he played really well in the big leagues.
Exactly.
That makes it could skyrocket his value. And you know what? If he doesn't play well, at least you had an opportunity for a big weekend or a big coming out party for that player. Do we expect DJ LeMahieu to develop all of a sudden and get better in his age 34, 35 season?
Yeah.
For me, when those guys get to the yard, I just say, hopefully we get something out of them today. That's the way I come into the game. And if I think that, I promise you these players and management think it too.
Yeah, I mean, you got Jeter Downs, you got Vivas, you got Rumfield, you got Oscar Gonzalez, who's hitting 281. I mean, I guess I just don't really understand what the point of, like, Caleb Durbin we know is done for this year anyway. 60-day IL. That's 60-day IL when you're in the minors is way more damning, essentially, because their season is shorter. So, you know, but I look at like their minors right now, you know, with Scranton Wilkes-Barre, and it's like what are we doing? Like, you know, I would just rather have these guys hitting. I mean, I'd rather see Oscar Gonzalez, just call him up, outfielder, take Grisham's spot away if he's going to be as lackadaisical as he was today in the field. Just put in Oscar Gonzalez, give him an opportunity to hit in 281 in the outfield. TJ Rumfield, get another bat in there. Jeter Downs, Vivas, right? Like, I'm just kind of over the whole, yeah, well, you know, they're not ready or whatever. Bullshit. They're not ready. Okay. You have DJ LeMahieu out there who has an OPS less than 500. Okay. He's not ready. And he's never going to be ready because at this point, his career, his trajectory is going down, just like his average exit, you know, launch angle. Okay. It's literally going down. So I hate to break it to you if you're a DJ LeMahieu fan, but he's done. Stick a fork in him. He is done. Oh, well, he's good at defense. Well, that's great. But if your bat is like 220, you can get away with good defense. If your bat is 183 and your OPS isn't even hitting 500 after like what? How many games has he played now? Like 40? It's just not
220,
acceptable.
by the way, 220 with good defense. I don't want that guy near my field.
Oh, I don't either. But like,
that's not even
I can understand an argument there. I can't understand
we're talking
any
about
argument
a utility
at 183.
Because remember, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is a player that the Yankees brought in. And everyone said, this guy, he just stinks. He's going to hit 262, doesn't really have a ton of pop. He might porch job you once or twice in a series. Great, right? He's out of position at shortstop, can't really play short. And people complained about his presence. Now, I understand he's not the greatest shortstop. That's not his position. We played him out of position. But DJ LeMahieu is playing the position that he's really good at, which is third base, okay? And when you're hitting 220, that's not production level where a team is going to win a World Series with you at third base of all positions. This is not second base, okay? This is supposed to be one of the premier offensive positions in the game. And we're getting absolutely nothing out of shortstop, third base, second base, and until just recently, we started getting something out of first base because we got our $15 million first baseman out of there, unfortunately due to injury, and put Ben Rice up there and gave him a promotion up to leadoff, okay? So we literally brought a prospect up from the minor leagues, and he's the only guy in our infield giving us production.
It's insane.
How can you expect to win baseball games? And by the way, the job Boone's done in the last 3 weeks has been downright treacherous. That's one. And two, personnel-wise, after a few injuries, a couple guys go ice cold, we're getting nothing from the infield. So there's a ton of pressure. In terms of outfield production, Soto, Verdugo, and Judge have to be excellent if this team's going to win games. There is no safety net of Giancarlo Stanton. There is no safety net of Jason Dominguez. Right now for the Yankees, Brian Cashman's going to have to get busy, and it's not that long from now. By the time people are watching this podcast, it'll be July 5th. We've got like 20 days, 20 to 24 days for Brian Cashman to get in a room, get stuff done. Because, Jake, I'm actually really curious to what you think needs to be done as far as third base, second base, because we've talked about Gleyber Torres still thinking even if he gets hot, we would still move him for a couple arms in Miami or whether it be Chisholm, right? We had conversations about Bellinger. Which players do we need to be looking at least positionally?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chisholm makes a lot of sense. I think, Renifo makes a lot of sense, and I know they'll be interested in him from, the Angels. I mean, I think right now, Gary, and this is what's actually kind of infuriating me, they need to call up the kids now. I need to know what I have in Oscar Gonzalez. I need to know what I have in Jeter Downs. I need to know what I have in Yorbeat Vivas and TJ Rumfield, because I want to know if I need to trade them away. I want to know if, here's the thing. If they didn't call up Ben Rice probably would have been traded at the deadline. I'm just going to say it right now. Okay. Now that they know, because let's make this very clear. I don't think even they knew how good Ben Rice was. They should have. The proof is in the pudding.
He's rakes never everywhere he went.
Everywhere he goes, he rakes. But I don't think they know. And you know how I know this? Boone literally came out and said that he was going to platoon him and JD Davis. Tell me you know nothing about Ben Rice without telling me you know nothing about Ben Rice. He is going to platoon. Obviously, they're not doing it right now. But the idea that he was going to platoon with a guy who was just DFA'd by the freaking A's of all teams. Are you serious right now? And I guess that's really that's the disconnect I have. Okay. You have the farm system for a reason. We have to stop looking at it like, oh, well, you can't touch them because when you call them up, it ruins their trade value. Yeah, but here's the deal. Okay. You need to know if these guys can play. Pereira's out for the year, right? So Pereira is probably either getting traded with lesser value and he's thrown into a package deal, or they're going to hang on to him. But we have an idea. He played last year, didn't look great, but he's always looked good in AAA. We have an idea he can play. He's been called up to the big leagues before, and we know that he's out for the year, right? But when it comes to guys like Rumfield, okay, and Narvaez and, freaking Agustin Ramirez and Jeter Downs and Vivas, it's like, these guys are playing well in AAA. Do you care that much about winning a AAA title that you'll literally hurt your major league team? No way, right? Well, I don't know.
They're trying to protect, if you're going to try to protect that value, by the way, doesn't that mean you're telling me that you at some point are going to cash in that chip? Because there's no such thing as value in the minor leagues if you don't call them up or trade them.
No.
Let's remember that, Jake.
As they get older each year, the value goes down.
Yeah, just because you have a really good player in AAA, if you don't call him up to the big leagues or make a trade, he has zero value. I don't give a rat's ass what a player does in AAA, to be quite frank with you. The only thing I care about is based on what he does in AAA, is that going to impact the big league roster at some point or fashion, like at any point? If it doesn't, then to be honest with you, I don't care what Ramirez does. I don't care what Ben Rice did in AAA. Don't care at all. You have got to make sense of every single player in your system's presence. If you can't do that, you're wasting our time. Okay, so That's something that is really important. If we don't call up these young guys and we say the excuse is, well, hold on a second, we're going to use one of their options and it's going to deplete some of their value because it's likely they don't play well when they get here. Well, guess what? You're telling me you're going to keep their value. So when we get to the trade deadline for a team, frankly, that really needs a shot in the arm, they need talent. Okay, let's be clear. Those players, since they're not called up, should be traded. Okay, those players that you tell me can't come up to this big league team and perform, trade them immediately. Okay, and I'm not a guy who's just going to say trade everybody, but if you refuse to call up a given player, don't repeat the Florial and Frazier and all that situation. Oh
God, I can't live.
Please don't do that to us. Just call a guy up or trade him. I don't care if he's good in AA. Do something with the guy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm at the point. So is Spencer Jones, because I mean, keep in mind, they set the bar. When they put out Grisham out there and they put out DJ LeMahieu out there, they have set a bar. And you know what that bar is right now? That bar is, 165 batting average for Grisham, 183 for LeMahieu. I don't care how not ready you may think Spencer Jones is. He can absolutely at least hit 163 or 165, whatever the hell Grisham has. Okay, so that's my thing. Also, he's a good defender as well. And he also is playing center field every night. So, look, I'm not saying like he needs to come up right away, but I will say this. Wasn't that long ago, 2022, they got off to a great start. Well, like most Boone teams, sorry, Boone, just the facts. They start off great, and then right around July, right around the end of June, they like fall off a freaking cliff. And I don't understand
it. You showed me the numbers.
I don't understand it. I do not get it, but it's consistent. It's like Kyle Shanahan in the Super Bowl. I don't know. Like, it's just consistent.
The context they try to give, Jake, is that injuries are such a factor in this equation, okay? And that's something that, let's address that right here off the rip.
Yeah.
Because let's not forget, the New York Yankees aren't the only team that have dealt with catastrophic injuries. Let's use the Atlanta Braves as just such a tremendous
not having Acuna
example.
Is not having Judge, essentially.
Thank you. So Ronald Acuna Jr. goes out with a torn ACL. Now, this is obviously
no Spencer Strider either, by the way. Everyone forgets about that.
Right, but let's remember, when they won their World Series, was Ronald Acuna Jr. out there? Was he patrolling and right?
No. He
wasn't,
injured.
was he?
He was.
Do you remember last year, the whole narrative is that if the Braves win, it would be Acuna's like first go around and he wants to prove himself, right? They obviously fell short. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's be clear. Their manager had to figure out what to do. Their general manager had to figure out, how do we put enough talent around to where this can make sense, where we can actually go out there and win a World Series. Now, of course, he doesn't get to go out there and play. The general managers, that is, they don't play. Okay. No. They build rosters. That's their job. Now, if Brian Cashman builds a team that can sustain 1 or 2 injuries in the starting lineup, and now the team goes from, wow, I can really see this team being one of the best teams in the league, to what the hell are we watching? You haven't done a good job. Okay. No. So we've mentioned some of the things he's done that have been excellent pickups, but as far as the macro, what's happening with this lineup, they're an injury prone team that has no backup plan. So get busy this deadline, please.
Yeah, and again, like, how are you an injury prone team that has no backup plan when you have all these guys who, like, keep in mind, look at other minor league systems. Not everybody's hitting well. You don't have a bunch of options. The Yankees, despite the fact that they gave up all those options in the Joey Gallo trade, despite the fact that they've made multiple big trades, Soto, Gallo, Montas, I mean, they've made so many trades. Their minor league system is still pretty deep. Like, I'm just going to call it like it is. And so you got guys like Rumfield again who are hitting 300 at first base, and he's got no future because virtually the Yankees look at him like he's a forever AAA guy, and we're fine with losing him in the Rule 5 draft. They do this all the time. And to your point, we don't want to see another Clint Frazier Florial situation. Well, they've been doing this for so long, and it's like you'll have these guys, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, they don't hit this pitch well." I don't give a rip. He's hitting over 300. So clearly he's doing something right.
Well, wait, which pitch does Oswaldo and DJ hit well?
I don't even get,
because I'm waiting to find it out. I've watched, how many games have we played? We have played, 89 games.
Yep.
I've seen enough baseball this year. Which pitch is it that those guys, Cabrera, LeMahieu, Grisham, and JD Davis doesn't have enough sample size to pick on them, so fair. I won't. But those three guys, what's Volpe the last 45 days? What's he hitting well? Okay.
I know.
Bat speed wise, exit velocity wise, defensively spectacular. He's absolutely answered the bill. He's been everything that we could have ever imagined defensively with the glove. Great. But with the bat, what's he done? He hit 20 homers last year, but he hit 200.
Exactly.
So we projected a player who was going to be, and by the way, Jake, at the beginning of this year when I asked you, what do you think of Volpe in terms of how he projects? Like, what do you think a realistic goal is? And do you remember batting average wise what you told me?
270.
270. It's exactly what you told me.
Yep.
Okay, so think of it this way. We're talking about our number one prospect is a guy that podcasters for the Yankees, so we're slightly biased here, and we try not to be. Yeah. But we told you on the air, we think this guy could hit 270, and I said 250, I think. Okay? Yeah. Now, this is a player, 270 with power.
Yeah.
270 with power, okay? Not 250 with none, okay? He's a 250 hitter if he's not trying to hit for power. What do you think that batting average would look like if he had 13 homers? He'd be hitting 195.
It's insane. And by the way, I actually didn't finish my thought because we were talking about Boone and like everything, but 2022, do you remember what they did when they were absolutely in shit's crick? Remember what they did?
You're not talking about Cordero, are you?
No. No. They
do?
No, Cordero was last year. 2022, they actually made it to the playoffs.
Sorry, I had PTSD from last year, so I just don't.
They called up
slipped my mind.
Oswaldo Cabrera and Oswald Peraza, and they both lit a spark of fire under the Yankees' ass, and they were both productive. So much so, Peraza hit over 300, I believe, in the playoffs. So, look, my point I'm making, you can say, and I'm sure Yankee fans will, they already did that. They called up Ben Rice. Why stop there? There is nobody outside of Judge, Rice, Soto, Wells that I'm sitting there like, and I mean, to be fair, Volpe, I mean, I know he's struggling right now again, but he's a major league hitter. It's not
Are you calling for Spencer Jones right now? Are you putting that on record?
I mean, why the fuck not? Like, really? Like, why not just, what do you have to lose? They called up Phil Hughes from AA, so don't give me the whole, he has to go to AAA. No. Bryce Harper went right from AA to the big league.
They're acting like this Spencer Jones has still got placenta on him. Dude, he's 23.
Yeah. That was the way you said that.
These guys are acting like Spencer Jones is just off, like he just graduated high school last night. He didn't. He is a 6'6", 235-pound center fielder who plays center field every day, by the way. He's performing well, especially of late. The guy is 23 years old. 23 is a grown man, okay?
I mean, I'd understand.
Think he can handle it.
I'd understand if this was like the Astros during their their dynasty run and everyone in their lineup is hitting around at least 260. You remember like everybody, even like, McCormick or whatever.
Yep, I mean, find a way.
They just find a way, right? That's not the case. Like, you do not have a leg to stand on if you're sitting there and like, yeah, like Spencer Jones is just, well, okay. I want to talk to the people who are saying Spencer Jones can't hit this, this, and this, because I want to get their thoughts on what the hell they think about DJ LeMahieu right now, what the hell they think about Trent Grisham right now, what the hell they think about Volpe, all these guys. That is how I feel. When you set the bar as low as the Yankees have, you could call up freaking Lombard Jr., who's not even supposed to be called up until 2027. That's his ETA. Lombard Jr. can hit 180. You have to understand how freaking bad that is. We have a guy in the lineup who is actually an everyday player right now because, Stanton's out, in Grisham, who is hitting 156. How is that acceptable? Like, this is the major leagues. I mean, could you imagine? Just imagine for a sec, your dad was hitting 156. The Yankees would have benched him back then. You know what I mean? Straight up.
And he wouldn't have been upset with it, by the way, because production is just a given. You're paid to do your job. Now, obviously, guys who
from Gary
called up out of the
Sheffield
minor
hitting
leagues,
290 to Trent Grisham 156.
Yeah, things have definitely changed in Yankees land. But
yeah.
I'll say this. The Yankees, in my opinion, the way they look at this is that bringing a guy up too soon stunts his growth. And to which I say, I don't really think it does. And I'll tell you why.
No, baptism by
people,
fire all day.
Yeah, how many people were really worried about Juan Soto when he got called up at 19? Not many, okay? But also, let's use this example. Jackson Holiday, obviously, clearly called up too early, right? He was called up too soon. He wasn't ready, and that's fine. Happens in Major League Baseball. Really hard league to play in.
Absolutely.
But he went down to AAA. What do you think he did in AAA? What do you think he's doing right now? He's absolutely raking.
Yeah.
So if you guys think that Spencer Jones is going to come out and be like, oh, look at that. The New York Yankees think I'm better than Trent Grisham in Verdugo right now. So they're calling me up so that I can play for maybe the next 3 weeks until the deadline. Who knows? They might find a solution with a veteran, which makes sense, right? And then I might be sent back down. But if I play well, I guess I'm up there to stay then. But if I don't play well, he's going to go down to AAA and what? What's he going to do? Because he's in AA right now. He's going to go down to AA and what now? He's all of a sudden not going to know how to hit because he's so shell-shocked from Major League pitching.
I don't buy
he won't
that.
Be. Just let him get it. Get him an opportunity, please.
See, this isn't football. This isn't like putting a quarterback in there who's now, you brought up the analogy the other day, they start seeing ghosts, okay? Yeah. Everyone remembers the infamous Monday Night Football game. Jets have Sam Darnold out there, and he's getting hit so much that he literally says, I'm seeing ghosts. Like he's shell shocked. Okay. He's also getting contacted. He's getting hit every play. And now, while having to get hit every single play, he's having to make reads. He's having to literally audible plays. He's having to communicate what is being told in his ears in 15 seconds before the ball is snapped. Okay. So it's a lot for a quarterback. But miss me with the idea that, oh, Spencer Jones would never recover or whatever. I'm so over this. And by the way, this to me speaks to a deeper personnel issue in not development, because clearly they're developing these players. They're playing well, right? But whoever's deciding whether or not that they can cross the threshold, because I don't understand why we have to have this summoning and this freaking ceremony every time. It has to always be perfect. It has to be like, yeah,
because Ben Rice was done. Ben Rice was done properly, in my opinion.
Ben Rice was just like totally against how they do things. Yeah. So I want to see more of that, because what I can't stand is how they make it like, oh, like it's like this big freaking ceremony. Anthony Volpe, like, don't show me, don't tell me. Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
I just want to wake up and they say Spencer Jones has been called up. They say, why? Like, did you think he was so ready? Well, we think he's been performing well. And frankly, we need the shot in the arm. Done.
Yeah.
That's all it is. No other conversation needed. I don't need a quote from Boone. I don't need a quote from Cashman.
252. They called up Oswaldo Cabrera when he was hitting 241 in 2022.
Yeah, he wasn't hitting 325. He was just a guy who you would consider bat to ball wise, he was fine in the minor leagues. Wasn't bad. But defensively, they really liked what he was doing. And overall, he was athletic. And that's something the Yankees clearly needed. And he was a guy who can give him a look from the left side. Well, Spencer Jones is going to do exactly that. Except, you know, the difference here, Spencer Jones is a much better baseball player. Let's be in favor of calling up good baseball players, regardless of what level they're coming from. Just call up good baseball players and take bad baseball players off the field. And we don't need to dive into which guys those are.
Yeah.
It's clear. If you're watching the Yankees, you know which guys are consistently giving us no output. Find good players that we currently have possession of before you have to go make a trade. Give these guys an opportunity. I think if they gave them an opportunity rather than getting in their own head, be more like what you did with Ben Rice, the Yankees would be in much better shape in 2-3 weeks when we get to the deadline.
When they called up Jason Dominguez last year, was not hitting that well. It was probably the worst he was hitting in the minor leagues. It doesn't have to be. See, this is the common misconception. I'm calling you up to help my baseball team in the big leagues. I don't give a rip where your situation is in AAA. Okay, we're not playing tug of war here. I'm calling you up because I need you on my team. I don't care how you're hitting in AAA. If I feel like I need you, I need you. And they've done this before. Will they do it again? I know Spencer Jones seems a little early for people, but it's not. And here's why. I'm going to bring up one player who actually is the best baseball player in the world, and that's Aaron freaking Judge. Okay. Aaron Judge was called up. We talked about the A-Rod thing, right? A-Rod forced to retire. Aaron Judge was literally the corresponding move to that. Fun fact, Aaron Judge was called up in 2016. He only played 27 games and he batted 179 with a 608 OPS. So, I mean, obviously, Gary, based on what I've been told, the shell shock was there. He never recovered. He couldn't hit anything.
He should be working at AutoZone right now, not even playing for the Yankees.
And then magically in 2017, the next year, he hits 52 home runs. Okay, he hits 52 home runs. He walks 127 times. He scores 128 runs, all of which led the league, by the way, his true rookie season, 114 RBIs. He hits 284 and has over 1,000 OPS. That's his first year starting. So a guy that
MLB The Show cover, man.
Yeah, a guy that was called, and people said, oh, it's too early to call up Judge. Because those people on the internet who have to literally compete to be the smartest person in the room when it's just silly. They'll literally tell you straight up, even if they believe it. That one dude that was arguing with me because I said that, they need to call up Jason Dominguez. He's like, but there's no place to put him. I don't know where to put Jason. Where do you put? Where are you putting? I don't give a rip where you put Jason Dominguez. He can play second base and figure it out. I just want his bat in the freaking lineup. I mean, his second base isn't going to cost as many runs as it's costing him by being down in AAA and having freaking Trent Grisham in the lineup and having freaking, DJ LeMahieu. So now, of course, we know where that went. But I'm at my wit's end with the idea that we're just going to keep trotting these guys out. We're going to continue to lose games like this, while guys in the minors look capable. And regardless if they're capable or not, you don't know if you don't try.
They didn't even check.
They have not checked. And also, it'd be so simple. You don't need this summoning ceremony, Gary. Do you realize right now on the 40-man roster, okay? Do you realize right now on the 40-man roster, there are all sorts of guys. Spencer Jones is not on the 40-man roster. That'd be an easy move. Everson Pereira he's injured. He's probably going to miss the entire season, okay? They could easily put him on the 40-man roster. Do you know who's on the 40-man roster right now? Vivas is on the 40-man roster. Jeter Downs is not. They should definitely probably move Jeter Downs to the 40-man roster. He's playing very well, does not get enough credit. Also, was a top prospect at one point. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. He just figures it out, ends up being really good. So that's that there. But then you have Agustin Ramirez and Carlos Narvaez. Okay, so there are guys all over this 40-man roster that could probably help him right now, but they continue to just trot out the same guys. They're fine with LeMahieu hitting 40-mile-an-hour line drives right at the second base.
He's out there because essentially it's exactly what we saw out of Josh Donaldson. We're already paying him.
It's awful.
Defensively, he's good, right? He's worse.
Definition of insanity, by the way. Doing it once, fine. You learned your lesson. Doing the same thing and expecting a different result, no. Insane.
Yeah, because eye test wise, Donaldson was really good over at third base. He was good. Okay. But what we were complaining about was his lack of offensive production. It was the problem immediately. We said, well, he's 37. So how does Brian Cashman plan on explaining this move? And he said, well, I think he's still got something left in the tank. Okay. Well, when he gets here and his tank's riding on E, then I'm going to sit here and say, you need another offensive guy, clearly. So playing defense at third base is not the only job. The third baseman's also got to go to the yard with his stick, okay? You got to be able to swing the bat. And when you talk about guys like Dominguez and Jones and Ramirez in the system, who cares where they play defensively? We just lost a series and got swept to a team, not because they played really good defense. They came out here and hit homers. They flat out hit us. Okay,
that was wild.
Pitchers couldn't get them out. It was disgusting to watch. Now, am I saying that Dominguez can just show up and catch? No, but you need to be semi-realistic with where guys can go. Jason Dominguez was clearly good enough to be on the big league roster. Did it really matter where he played, figure it out. Throw him at DH, throw him in left, throw Verdugo at DH, kind of split time. Do something to make it make sense. Now, Verdugo was excellent defensively. You know what you do? You allow every once in a while, you allow Soto to DH. You throw him out there in right field. Jason Dominguez was too good of a baseball player. Spencer Jones right now, would I say I would have expected him to be called up right now? No. I would have considered it early, and I would like to see a little bit more out of him. But let me say this. Is he an upgrade over what we're doing right now? It's not close. Some of these guys in the minor league system, it's not about timing. It's about we need guys. We need bodies. And if that's the case, if we don't have enough talent on the field, sometimes you don't get to time it just right. You haven't done the work to be able to make that type of timing. Because if you waste 3-4 weeks of the season, Baltimore is going to outrun us while we're twiddling our fingers with our timing of our minor league guys. That's just a waste of time. And frankly, Brian Cashman hasn't done a good enough job over the years, not just this year, but over the years, in utilizing his talent in his own system, let alone trade. So that's what's so disappointing to me. And I hope that our fans that are listening to the show understand that there are going to be guys that you don't think are ready, but answer the question is, are they an upgrade over one or two of the guys on the roster positionally? If the answer is yes, then you know if that guy should be called up.
Yeah, I mean, I use them all the time as an example, and your dad was on the team. I think it's the 2004 Yankees, right? So you look at the 2004 Yankees lineup, and I'm gonna bring it up now. I'm pretty sure like everybody was hitting in the lineup. So yeah, the lowest batting average was Tony Clark.
Tony Clark would have been hitting
221.
Okay.
He still had a 755 OPS, which would be probably one of the best on the team.
Wildly above average.
Yeah.
In the league.
Jorge Posada hit 272 with an 881 OPS, a 400 on base percentage. Okay. He hit 21 bombs, 81 RBIs, right? Miguel Cairo, you know, I'm a huge Miguel Cairo fan.
Same.
Miguel Cairo was just baller. There's nothing else for me to really say. Second baseman, age 30, right? 292, a 763 OPS. He had a 346 on base percentage. Okay. So he'd be one of the best hitters on this roster. Derek Jeter.
Really sad. Okay.
Hit 23 bombs, 78 RBIs, right? 23 stolen bases, 292, 823 OPS, 352 on base percentage. Alex Rodriguez, right? 36 homers, 106 RBIs, 28 stolen bases. That's right. A-Rod used to actually steal a lot. 286 batting average, 375 on base percentage, 888 OPS. That wasn't even A-Rod's best year, but that's we would take that in a heartbeat.
No, clearly 07 was better, but yeah.
Hideki Matsui, 31 home runs, 108 RBIs, right? 298 batting average, 912 OPS, a 390 on base percentage. Okay. So that's crazy. Bernie Williams at age 35. So LeMahieu's age, right?
Did he hit 280?
He's hitting 262 with a 795 on base percentage. He hit 22 bombs, 70 RBIs.
You mean his slugging or his ops was 795?
795. 360 on base percentage.
Okay.
So then you have, of course, your dad, El Gary.
I remember him.
36 home runs, 121 RBIs, right? He walked more than anybody on the team, 92.
Yep.
And I think he struck out the fewest of anybody except for Cairo. So
he probably struck out like 69 or 75 times, probably around there.
290 batting average, 393 OPS. Yeah, he should have been up there for the MVP, but that's another discussion. 393 on base percentage, 927 OPS. And Ruben Sierra, good old Ruben, 17 home runs, 65 RBIs, 244 batting average, and he had a 752 OPS. Okay.
Ruben Sierra would be hitting fourth probably right now.
Dude,
over
that's
JD
what I'm
Davis.
Like. This lineup,
we are bad right now.
This lineup is atrocious. I mean, it's like Jason Giambi, who was not the same. Like, I think he was sick, right? He was dealing with wasn't he? Did he have a lymphoma or something?
I don't remember
he was
exactly
sick.
what happened with him, but something did happen to him. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
I don't remember exactly either, so I don't want to put anything out there. But 12 home runs, 40 RBIs. He's hitting 208, and he had a 720 OPS, 342 on base percentage. So this is like Jason Giambi in like his worst, he's ever been.
The worst version of
he's
him.
Still
like obviously
better
worse
than
timing.
like half of this lineup.
He's playing better than Volpe.
Kenny Lofton, who played 83 games at age 37, okay, had a 275 batting average, has 741 OPS, a 346 on base percentage, okay? Like John Olerud played 49 games. He had a 280 batting average, 367 on base percentage, 763 OPS. John Flaherty at 36 years old hit 252 with a 750 OPS. Okay. I mean, guys, it's Andy Phillips had a freaking 875 OPS. Dioner Navarro had an 857. The reality is we're finding out the hard way because this team was fool's gold at the beginning of the season. It doesn't mean that they can't turn this around. But if you can't see why we're frustrated, you can't call up Spencer Jones, it's too early. How is it too early? Because, I mean, at this point, I'm just ready to be like, hey, Miguel Cairo, you want to come back? Hey, Gary Sheffield, do you want to come back? Because, I mean...
Did you know that 4 players on our entire roster have an ops? Like, in our starting lineup today, have an ops over 700?
Okay, like
4.
Did anybody have an ops below 700 on freaking...
and that's a historically great offensive team. In my opinion, we're just looking for league average out of the other guys. If the league average player was at third base, second base, right now, shortstop, unfortunately, and then Ben Rice is at first. So in my opinion, we've got about league average, maybe a little more. And then Wells is playing, in my opinion, way above average at catcher.
Okay,
so
that's
if
fair.
we got league average out of those guys, in my opinion, we're up 3 or 4 games in this division. But
what
you
about
don't get
a non-playoff Yankee
hypotheticals.
team in 2008? Let's just use them as an example.
Let's do that.
Ready? 89-73, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jose Molina, bat 216, had a 576 OPS. Not good, right? Just that's not good. Still better than LeMahieu, but not good. Then you have Jason Giambi, who was back to, I guess, kind of himself at age 37. 32 home runs, 96 RBIs, 247 batting average, 373 on base percentage, and an 876 OPS. That's Jason Giambi. Robinson Cano, I know that is a year that is never talked about. That is a good year. Robinson Cano, right? He was 25. He had 14 home runs, 72 RBIs, bat 271, right? 715 OPS. So not at all his best year, but it would be better than most guys in the lineup. Derek Jeter, age 34, 11 homers, 69 RBIs. He had a 300 batting average, 363 on base percentage, 771 OPS. Alex Rodriguez, age 32, 35 home runs, 103 RBIs, right? 302 batting average, 392 on base percentage, 965 OPS. Johnny Damon, okay?
So he was Soto.
Yeah. Johnny Damon hit 17 bombs for 71 RBIs, leading off, right? 303 batting average, 375 on base percentage, 836 OPS. Melky Cabrera at age 23, 8 homers, 37 RBIs. He had 249 batting average, and he had an OPS of 641. Bobby Abreu, okay, 20 homers, 100 RBIs, 296 batting average, 843 OPS, 371 on base percentage. Hideki Matsui, age 34, 9 homers, 45 RBIs. Not the same Matsui, but he
clearly
was more of a contact guy at that point in his career. 294 batting average, 370 on base percentage, 795 OPS. There's only 2 guys in that lineup that have below a 700 OPS. Okay,
right.
I mean, you have guys on the bench like Xavier Nady, who had a 794, right? Wilson Bettamy, do you remember him?
I do.
718. Jorge Posada on the bench, 775.
Okay,
Okay.
so our conclusion here is that
Like,
when we're completely healthy, we've got guys, but it was very predictable in general that a few of these names that we were just penciling in, saying, yeah, we're getting a ton of production and it's exciting.
yeah.
Well, a lot of those guys that were giving us production, we knew they weren't going to be here long term.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
having said that, you should be looking at the roster as a general manager and thinking to yourself, well, if that's the case, I need to do something behind the scenes, because when that does happen, I'm going to be like, people are going to be blaming me. And
Yeah.
that's what we're going to be
And
doing
that's all
in
Cashman
about
cares
3 weeks. If Jones isn't called up, if some of these guys aren't given an opportunity, and we're sitting here talking about, because 700's a number in terms of ops that we use, because that's where we usually describe a player as league average. League average
Yeah.
offensively is 700. When you look at the lineup and you see Rice, Soto, Judge, Verdugo, and you see ops of 765, 1,000, 1,100, and 703, and then every single ops you see after that starts with a 6, a 5, or a 4, you know your team is not going to score consistently. They might every once in a while, they play Boston tomorrow. They might go out there and score 7 or 8 runs. Everyone's feeling good about themselves, right? Ratings on everyone's podcasts are up. But the following day is where it gets important, because those guys who have an ops in the 6s and the 4s, they're not expected to perform back-to-back days. There's a reason their ops looks like that. There's a reason their overall numbers aren't good. So these players have the physical capabilities, such as Verdugo today, where they can go out there and go 3 for 4 with they can multi extra base hit days, and you can say, oh, he's back. But then what does he do tomorrow? Your overall numbers need to dictate that you'll be there and productive tomorrow. And right now, the Yankees, more than half their lineup is consistently bad. So we need answers. Don't exactly know where they are. We've kind of given some answers in this show as to where they can go, but they can't go nowhere. You can't just continuously trot out the same guys that aren't working. So that's essentially how we're concluding this show, is that you need to make a decision one way or the other. Making a decision to do nothing and to make no moves. I thought Ben Rice was a spectacular move,
Absolutely.
but everybody else right now, LeMahieu shouldn't touch the field. I know he pinch hit today. I don't know why a player hitting 183 with an ops of 484. I'd never even heard of those numbers before.
I
I
know.
didn't know it went that low. So to pinch
Yeah.
hit him is just flat out blasphemous. And the funny part is we pinch hit him in place of Oswaldo Cabrera, who right now is a black hole offensively. So just 2 wastes of roster spots. If DJ LeMahieu is going to be on this team, and I guess I'm fine having him on the team, but it needs to be defensive replacements for like a young player at third base in the 8th or 9th inning. Other than that, he should not touch the field. Grisham's on the field because of injury. I understand it, but we've got guys in our system like Jones who can come out, give him an opportunity to play a few weeks. And you know what? We may never send his ass back down. So let's give him a shot, Jake. We're putting it into the ether. We'll see if Boom. We know he watched our last show. We'll see if he watches this one.
Yeah, no, that was funny. Like
the 2 players we named for him, they both hit homers today. They're the only jabronis to go out there and drive in runs. And you mean to tell me, watch our show. If you watch our show, we're going to be wrong, but we will admit when we're wrong. But when we're right, damn it, we're going to tell you we're right. And we were right this time.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like the Jackson Holiday thing, if that's what people are worried about, just send Spencer Jones back down if he's hitting like 82. You know what I mean? Like, yep. It's not that hard. If he can't.
Oh no, he had 82. The guy he replaced was hitting 082.
Yeah, I mean, so if he can't hit 163, fine, okay, you win, but at least give him 20, 30 games. I mean,
give him a try.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, like you said, I don't think he gets sent down. I think he'd rise to the occasion. I think we put too much stock into guys. Oh yeah, he's struggling. Remember when Jason Dominguez was struggling and then they called him up and he was still struggling and then he went to the big leagues and was like, oh, he's not struggling anymore. That's weird. Sometimes
he might
guys
struggle,
are just
but at
ready.
least he's got potential to do something. A lot of these guys don't necessarily have potential. I know DJ has no potential. No. There's no potential there. He's 34. Is he going to get better in his age 34 season? What's he eating? Says, I need to know what he's having. At
How much
age
fun, by
36,
the
you
way,
make
would
him
this?
better.
How much fun would this lineup become if
it'd be pretty
Spencer Jones got called up? I mean, first off, just the viewership of that game would be through the roof because he's been dubbed as the left-handed Aaron Judge. That's what he's been dubbed as from the moment he was drafted. By the way, just like Aaron Judge, because I've said this, I really wanted him in the draft. I saw him as a, carbon copy of Giancarlo Stanton. Then they ended up drafting him with the Nick Swisher compensatory pick. Very happy about that.
Really cool trivia.
And kind of just wrapping this thing up. Spencer Jones was the only guy I was like, I really want that guy. And you know what's funny? A lot of people want him too because they wanted the two-way player. They're like, oh, he could be the next Ohtani. I was like, no. He had injuries. I don't want him pitching. I want him hitting. And the way he was hitting, his exit velocity, and he was breaking StatCast records in college. So, I mean, the Yankees normally, freaking get a hard on for StatCast. So, where's Spencer Jones? I mean, so look, that's what I'll say. You put Spencer Jones in the lineup. At some point or another, Jason Dominguez shows up. Then you got Spencer Jones, Jason Dominguez, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Ben Rice, Austin Wells. If Volpe gets it together, I mean, the freaking young star power, baby bombers, whatever you would say. Dude, attendance would be through the freaking roof.
Yeah, Stan's out right now, so DH spot is open. Okay, it's just rotational. You give Verdugo a day off, or you want to use Verdugo still in the lineup because you feel like he's getting it going at 3 hits yesterday. Totally get it. You throw him at DH, give him more at bats. You throw Spencer Jones out there. He's played center field. He can play left. He can play right. You can essentially make that work, especially given who's hurt. Spencer Jones makes sense. Other guys make sense. Ramirez, take your pick. It's got to be somebody. So on this show, we're just saying someone's got to get the call, because if you're sitting in the minor leagues performing and you look up at the big league roster and a lot of numbers look like this, you surely think, whoa, I'm about to get the promotion that I've been looking for.
Nope.
But if that's not going to happen, then names better be thrown into a pile and being part of a trade, which we know where they're probably not going to be doing. They're not going to go crazy. They might make a few moves, but let's be real. These guys have got to get the call. They need to seize the opportunity, because just because you played well in AA or AAA doesn't mean you're going to play well in the big leagues. But let's give them an opportunity. If you give them that shot, then at the very least, I know we've got a puncher's chance to put something behind Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and right now what we got out of Ben Rice.
Well, hey, I'm excited because, the last time we said something like this, we put out in the ether, it came true. So hopefully something along the lines happens. But we really appreciate you guys. This is a fun episode, and we went a little longer, but that was honestly for the people that like longer shows. It was for you, for supporting us, going over 1,000. I mean, that was a crazy meteoric rise in just a day. So, maybe this ends up being our biggest video yet. We just had our biggest video yet. We'll see what ends up happening. Probably going to title this something along the lines of calling up Spencer Jones, get the juices flowing. But that's going to do it. So we appreciate you guys. Be sure to follow us on all social media at JK Bogan, at Gary Sheffield Jr., and at Yankees Unloaded. And until next time, guys, you guys take care.
Yep. And watch our ads and like our video.